Hello, everybody, and welcome to Sonja and Gary's Reality Talk. Um, today, obviously, I'll let Sonja introduce herself in a second. I'm Gary from Alternative Interactions. Today, we're going to be talking about travel and some really interesting concepts. We're going to look at ancient travel, things like flying carpets. I don't know about flying carpets. I want to know what Sonja sees. And we're then going to go on to more current contentious issues. And again, what we'll be talking about is the 3D timeline, not the timeline you're going to be seeing. Okay, let's make this very clear. But these are issues that we have to be aware of, mindful of, so that we can create our own reality tunnels and create what we really want. And then we might be looking into future time stuff if we have time. So, Sonja, please introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Sonja Testerman from the Tree of Knowledge. And of course, I absolutely love talking and diving deep and remote viewing into all subjects.
Superb, superb. Thank you. And again, for those who are unfamiliar with Sonja, Sonja's got a Patreon channel where really worth going on because Sonja talks about stuff that can't be talked about and spoken about on YouTube. And she also has the ability where you can book sessions with her on one-to-one and you can ask Sonja anything and Sonja will tell you, unfiltered exactly what she sees and what's going on. And so that's a real amazing opportunity. So make sure you take advantage of that while you can, because you never know what's around the corner and what craziness we've got coming up. So there we go. I think that's the corporate spill out, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
So we love roughly talking about travel today, but I know we're going to go on to, potentially digital ID and travel restrictions and all the kind of crazy and I'm going to say crap that we're experiencing in this world. That's 3D. We're not going to see it, but let's start something nice. Um, we didn't actually have a subject to talk about when we messaged each other the other day, and I woke up this morning and travel came into my head. I asked higher self, give me a message. What we talk about travel. And when Sonia and I first got on, I said, because we didn't have a subject, I went, do you know what? I think we should be talking about. She said, oh, we need to talk about travel today. It's like, oh my God. So, first question I've got for you, which is a nice introduction to it, nice and soft. When I was a kid, there used to be loads of TV programs and flying carpets, Aladdin and all the bit. They always get on this flying carpet. Now, you know, we've seen kind of yogis and levitation, the people that get into a trance or Buddhist monks who get just and they can levitate. We know this is kind of possible. Have you ever looked into flying carpets? Were they really a thing and did they use them in the way that's portrayed on the TV, please, Sonia?
Okay, so I started looking into it just now, and what I'm seeing is carpets are like a depiction of technology. And what I'm actually seeing is they weren't actually carpets, like carpets you throw out. They were round disc technology. And you would step onto the round disc technology, and a biofield would form around you, a solid biofield like a bubble. And I'm seeing this, and it's like, where have I seen this before? And I'm looking at it, I'm like, oh my God, this is going to really take you back. Do you remember a long time ago when all these Mayans ended up disappearing? It's like the whole civilization was just gone. And supposedly the ant people ended up taking them. That technology comes from that insectoid ant people. And what it is they step on this platform. This platform's a form of, it's metal, but it's also like a hydrogel. And this hydrogel bubble goes over you. And this is the technology that was in the realm at one time. And so when we had our resets, people remembered the technology and they could only correlate it to a carpet because, the flying carpet. So it transferred from real technology to a carpet. So there's your answer.
Wow, I love that. I love that. Because again, Sonia and I are both aware of the Aztec stroke Mayan culture. And I think the ones that truly had the real technology were the Aztecs, who predate the Mayans. But the Mayans then inherited a lot of what was left and used it until it broke and couldn't fix it anymore. And
Mhm.
Sonia and I were talking about this, and there's that famous depiction, isn't there, of that Mayan. It looks like he's sat inside something. Now
Mhm.
you can see pedals, and I've seen Mayans with helmets on. And you brought up something about an aircraft. Now, would you like to talk about what are we seeing in the Mayans when we're looking at these famous pictures of these Mayans sat in these like cockpits almost, you know? So
Yeah.
what do you see with that, please?
Well, I had looked into this a long time ago and realized that it was craft. But here's the thing. You remember those ant people that I was talking about that are actually alive insectoids, form of insectoid, that are still, they're inside of our reality, our Earth, but they're in a different dimension. That was their craft, and it was designed for a very small being. Those are the ant people. That's what they're called, the ant people. There are depictions on rocks in America,
Yes,
like
there are.
around the whole west coast of America and in the Central America, where they have ant people, and they're old. They're dating back forever. These ant people would come into our dimension, which is 3D, and would interact with humans at one point, and they had craft. And so when you see that Mayan sitting in there and he's all crunched up and all the instruments are around him, that's how small the ant people actually are versus the Mayan king that was in there, because that was actually a king. And yeah, that is a craft. And since they had lost a lot of their technologies because they had gone through a reset, they, to their best knowledge, tried to depict this instrumentation. That's why it looks half wonky and artistic, because they didn't understand 100% of this technology. So when you take a civilization and you put them back to ground zero and they lose their technocracy, whatever you want to call it,
Yeah,
technocrat, and then the only thing you can do is do like the cargo cult, you're mimicking. Because we know about the cargo cult when we were having World War II, and they would mimic planes flying and they would be dropping goods and stuff. And so they started worshiping airplanes, and they were the cargo cult,
yeah,
waiting for more goods to come in. Well, that's the same with the Mayans. They had, because of the reset, all of that got, their technocracy was lost. So basically, that is the ship of an ant person, or the beings. And he's way too big for it. That's why he's all crammed in there. But that is a ship. It's an interdimensional ship, not outer space. Interdimensional. These beings don't live in outer space. There's no outer space like that. It's interdimensional.
yeah. Superb. Um, it makes total sense to me, you know. And when we talk about ant people, I think they're even the Aborigines have got ant people depicted, and there's lots of ancient Hopi stuff about ant people or people
Mhm.
coming up from the ground and all sorts. Um, but it would be a way of describing if someone turned up in a craft that you didn't know and just suddenly turned up. They've come
Mhm.
from somewhere, so they've and your field of references they've come out of the ground. And cargo cult, what Sonja's talking about is in World War II in the Polynesian islands. They'd never seen aircraft, they'd never seen white people, and all of a sudden the American army turns up with helicopters, with crates underneath them which dropped. The Americans made airfields and landed small planes for munitions and stuff. And you can actually go to Polynesian islands today. They still have aircraft control towers made out of, bamboo or whatever. And they stand there and they do these cult things where they wave some sticks on fire sometimes with you know, so they're calling in the plane and they're doing the taxi and stuff. And they are treating that still today as a religious thing where they're waiting for the big bird in the sky to come back and give them free food and clothing.
Cargo cult. And then, looking at that, think about all the things we believe today, because we were told to believe these things and we're still believing in it.
Yeah, yeah, totally,
We are the
totally,
cargo cult too.
very much so. And it's very easy. You think the World War II finished in, say 1946 was the last time the Americans were there, or we're 2025 and they're still doing these practices, and they might be for another 100 years yet if they were left unmolested. So we can see how our um, religious doctrine has been changed, put into us, and we follow down these roads. It's quite fascinating when we look at this and take a step back and observe it without absorbing the energy, and just look at it in a very neutral way of what's going on and how can we then see the same paradigm creational mind control systems around us. Very fascinating.
It's interesting. And I always think about the cargo cult, and I think about our daily society, and I'm like, we're the biggest cargo cult ever. We've been so displaced from what we should be doing. We should be living by, I'm always talking about, we should be living by the seasons, not by the minute.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're a big cargo cult.
Yeah.
We've been so displaced and so removed from nature when nature is the only thing that actually matters. Yes, it is. And it's being taken from us daily. Think about all of the cutting down of everywhere you live. I think about the United States alone. The amount of urban sprawl destroying nature. I mean, just massive urban sprawl. I mean, unbelievable. If there's no if you wanted to destroy nature, you're going to create urban sprawl.
Yeah. Yeah. Really interesting. I just had a comment today on one of my shows, recent shows, and the comment was from somebody from Turkey, and they said what had happened. I think this is around 2000. They were talking about is the somebody deliberately set wildfires on the forests on these slopes of these mountains, and they burnt every single tree to the ground. They then went along and cut all the trees down, hoiked all the stumps away, and now magically that the land's been cleared, they're building new houses and roads and tunnels and infrastructure, and there we go. So when we're talking about, and it's fascinating to me because I mean it's amazing. I mean, like Sonja and I are the same. We get so much information from the amazing comments and questions we get asked. It's like, oh my God. So I'm obviously in the UK and fixated kind of in my little bubble of what I see in the UK. Sonja's experience is more America, even though you're not there anymore. But it's fascinating that it's happening across the realm, and we have this mono governmental lockstep system, which it doesn't matter where you live in the world. The same control mechanism now has got its greedy fingers and grubby hands all over it, and everybody in the realm is seeing exactly the same kind of destruction and war against Gaia, Mother Nature, and
Yeah.
it's my blood boils. It
Mhm.
boils on this one and makes me very, very angry. Very few, there's not much in the world, I observe and that don't absorb. There's very little that winds me up. But the destruction of nature and natural animals' habitats really does pee me off, quite
I'm
frankly.
going to put this in here. I keep track of Planet Wild. And Planet Wild is one of those organizations that had just started not that long ago, maybe 10, 15 years, if that at the most. And they're going in and they're restoring all these damaged, dead ecosystems all over, including the ocean. Everybody, please go to Planet Wild on YouTube. And I am going to ask everyone to contribute $1, €1. What kind of money do you use in the UK?
Pound. Yes, the
A
pound. Yes.
pound. I don't care, contribute something because they are rebuilding. They're actually restoring Africa while Africa is starting to turn green again. And what they're doing is there's these small groups of people that are working with the ecosystem from different parts of the world, and they've come together and they've decided that they're going to tackle all these different projects, and new projects are constantly coming in where they can do preservation. They've even taken forests in Spain, this last one they did, and the Spanish people had planted all of these stupid trees, one type of tree which destroyed the ecosystem, and they went in and they started taking out all these trees, which sounds destructive. so they could replant an entire ecosystem. Because when the ground isn't prosperous, the animals don't come in, it's just a dead forest of man-made plantings, because at one time they were making profit off these plantings. I think they were some kind of palm tree or something. And this is what they do. And in Africa, they did this old thing that they had dug up in the past, where you dig like this round ditch, and then you dig these deep holes, and then you fill them in with water, and the deep holes actually allows the penetration. And they've been reclaiming huge chunks of Africa, which are now full of vegetation, trees, things to grow for the people. And then in the Americas, what happened in the Americas was they had gone in and they had killed the entire beaver population practically across the Americas. Beavers are essential because they create, just like in Africa, those damming systems what keep the land wet. If you kill the beaver, the land dries out. The water can't stay in anymore. There's no holding reserves. It changes the entire landscape of the land. It also allows fires because it's not wet anymore. So when they had gone in the 17 and 1800s, and they had in 1900s, and they had devastated the beaver populations, they changed the landscape of the Americas, or at least that part of the Americas, the North America. And now they're reintroducing beavers, and the deserts are coming back to life.
Yeah.
Planet Wild. I can't pump that enough.
Planet Wild, and I'll look it up, and I'll put a description link in my description
And
below.
there's another one that I watched. What's it called, Arthur? Mossy Earth. Planet Wild and Mossy Earth, and they're both doing the exact same thing. These are two organizations that have popped up to help build our new reality. Mossy Earth and Planet Wild. And I can't stress that enough. We look at the bad all the time. Let's look at the good. The good is there are organizations starting now and that have started, and they are rewilding our reality. We are going to require these groups and more coming in the future for our new Earth, so we can take back what's been devastated.
Yeah, and I'm now about to get on my hobby horse, because I've started to get on my hobby horse a little bit more often these days, Sonja, which is not a good look. But here we go. Right, the current charities that we have, the big charities, World Wildlife, WWF or whatever they're called, World Wildlife Foundation, and all, and then in the UK we have something called Comic Relief, who are meant to look after people and send money to Africa and all this sort of stuff. All right, I'm calling it out, and I'm calling it bullshit and money laundering, and they ain't got anybody's best interest at heart, let alone the animals. The CEOs get paid at least $250,000, sometimes $500,000 in salary. None of the money goes to where you think it does. All major charities, any charity that has the ability to advertise on television, or recently I was looking at the BBC funding, because the BBC obviously is very nefarious, and you've got all these big charities spending hundreds of millions of pounds in charitable donations to the BBC.
What?
Really? But let's get back to the thing, right? So the WWF, who's had all this money, World Wildlife Foundation, one of its founders years ago was the dead prince who was married to the Queen. I can't, Edward, well, whatever his name was. I don't really care what his name was, right? And the royals were all part of this, yeah? Now, the only reason why they were involved in the WWF is so that they could know what wild animals were rare and what rare animals were rare, so they could go down and shoot the bloody things.
Oh my God.
And if you remote view that, you'll see that as well. They were only involved in these charities so they could use them to their benefit, and they would be able to know where certain animals were, so they could hunt them and do what they wanted to do under the guise of charity.
Yeah, extinct them. I will wrap this right into the Red Cross. Red Cross is the same thing. They play like they're coming. I mean, there's a couple of horrific things with the Red Cross.
Yeah.
They create these artificial storm systems. We haven't had real weather in over 100 years. It's all artificial. And every time Mother Nature tries to take it back, they're constantly spraying their artificial garbage. Okay. So they'll create storm systems so they can go in and steal the children. That's it. That's what it's about. Period. Red Cross is about theft of life.
Same
Not
with
to mention,
UNICEF. UNICEF's
yep,
exactly the same. Yeah.
yep. And we won't even get into the blood aspect of
No,
that.
no,
But
no.
these organizations, these filthy organizations. So Planet Earth and Mossy Earth are on YouTube, and they are strictly funded by donations on YouTube. And
Yeah.
they're small. You can count the people that are working there. And all of the money goes back in, and they film exactly what they've done. And they'll tell you, break down the cost. They show you where it's spent, and you'll be surprised. It isn't that much money.
No.
Say an entire project is 30,000, an entire project is 60,000. And I saw one project because it was huge, was 100 and some thousand. If you can do all of this with that kind of money, that little bit of money, and make that huge impact, where's all your donations going? To some filthy, you know whose pocket, making them rich so they can plot and plan the destruction of your reality around you.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm sorry we got on the hobby horse, but for me, it's like, so we've got this charity called Children in Need, which is really nefarious, run by the BBC. The bear has one eye. You
Oh
know what I
boy.
mean? We don't need to go there anymore. But when we go to another charity in the UK called Comic Relief, that's run by a famous comedian who's not funny in any way, shape, or form when you really look into it. They just recently gave or went to court and provided £400,000 of donations for English, British, like England, Scotland, Ireland, Wales, Northern Ireland, to look after children for food and clothing and everything else like that. They just gave £400,000 to the courts to protect and make sure illegal immigrants stayed in the UK and paid their court costs.
Oh, I'm not surprised. Not surprised. Wake up.
Taking the piss, taking,
Yeah.
and I don't often swear, but I'm getting more sweary recently. You're taking the piss, guys. It's out of order. And anybody who supports any big charity from now onwards, shame on you.
Shame on you. You
Planet
better
Wild,
start.
Mossy
Don't
Earth.
believe the bullshit. I hate to say this, but it is. Don't believe the crafted narrative they sell you, pulling at your heartstrings. Why don't you put your money where you see it's actually going? Mossy Earth is a big one. Planet Wild, where they break it down, they show you, and you actually get to see interactions with the communities because they get the communities involved and teach the communities how to also do these things. That's a big one. Because if you go in and do everything for everyone, they're not going to be able to repeat that process. So that's the difference between them and these organizations. We had a big scam organization that ran for decades in America. It was for the sickle cell anemia, it was for MMS. And they used to do big, huge marathons where people would get these sheets, these kids, they would put it through all the schools. You get everyone, you're going to walk 30 miles, and you get everyone to pledge so much a mile in case you couldn't do it. And then you'd fill out, it was a sheet on both sides, which could be a couple $100 by the time you collected for or more. And this was a big marathon. They even had off the day for school across America to do these marathons. And all of that was for cancer. And they had a big movie star come on, and he's like, we're at 30 million, woohoo! And they're celebrating. And I'm like, knowing what I know now, that all cancers are parasites, and they got rid of the doctors that used to do parasite control to create the cancers. What kind of a flim flam milk bilking system that they even got the schools involved with all of the children to go to all of the neighbors in all the neighborhoods to pledge for them to walk, and then you would collect, and this was millions and millions. This was back in the 70s and 80s and 90s.
Yeah,
And I
I
don't think
remember
they're
that.
doing it, but here's how this goes. All those years, all that money, every single year across the entire United States of America, the milking, bilking, pharmaceutical system to make you think, pulling at your heartstrings, you're doing something good for the cancer victims when all the while you were providing them more money to kill you.
Yeah, and we used to do exactly the same in the UK. And I think we're going to finish this one off with obviously, if you have any medical issues, then please make sure you see your healthcare provider and the authoritative of your national government's healthcare provider, because obviously YouTube would want us to say that kind of shit, but
Mhm.
actually, I wouldn't go to the hospital if I could help it in any way, shape, or form. But something that's very, very interesting, and for those of you who aren't aware, look up the Cancer Act. I think it's 1939 in the UK. It could be 1938 or something in the United States of America, where it makes curing cancer illegal.
Mhm.
And there's people in prison currently that have cured cancer.
Mhm.
And obviously, that's a subject that we probably need to finish with now on that because of the lovely YouTube. Because
Mhm.
even though they're letting channels come back, and
Yeah, they won't. Did you see
you know,
David Icke come back? David Icke's back.
I know, and there's quite a few channels that have come back from the sort of like 20s, 2020, 2021. Um, that's a very interesting concept, really. I don't understand why that would be so. And yet, if we talk about stuff still today, so they've let
Mhm.
all these old channels come back. But if we talk about something like that's too controversial for them still, they will still do us.
Yeah.
How
Yeah.
does that work?
I have not had a strike. Uh it's been a while since I've had a strike. And I do know that before I was watching this one guy, I can't remember his name. Arthur was showing me him, and he said that they had the regular YouTube people who were paid to take down videos. They had like 15,000 channels removed like last year. And then this year they had the AI algorithm come in and do it because it's too big. They can't handle YouTube, it's too big. And instead of 15,000 channels being struck down, only 2,000 channels were struck down under the AI supervision. And most of them were spam channels. Not all of them, but a lot of them were nothing but spam bullshit channels.
Yeah, yeah,
So, in that aspect, a lot of people were screaming, "Oh, the AI algorithm, it's worse, it's worse." But those were the spammers. Those were the spammers. And I have noticed that I have not had one strike on my channel in the last, I think, 5 or 6 months. I have not had a strike.
well, clearly you've mellowed up far too much, and
Yeah.
you need to be trying harder. Okay, so let's get back to a bit of travel, okay? Because we are going to go to modern travel and then we're going to go beyond. So, one of the other things that I've noticed is something called Vimunas, and they were like not a pyramid shaped, but they were like a cone shaped flying device that used to fly around. Um, Again, we see a lot of the depictions of these in India and that kind of area, and I'm pretty sure that they actually found tablets which had pre-flight checks on the Vimana and how to dogfight them, so they could actually fly and dogfight. So again, Sonia, let's look into Vimunas or Vimunas. What do you see with those?
So we were also talking about where they found little gold toys. I don't know what else you call them, little gold figurines. One looks like a jet fighter, and then one looked like something else. It was another kind of flying device. And I do know that when I look into all of this, we came from a high technical society. It all comes back to this. We started off as the highest technical society, and then we had resets. And with each reset, we became the caveman, unfortunately. Unfortunately. So when I look into, it's just like the Vimanas. Um, they're kind of pyramid shaped, but they're kind of round, but they are actual pyramids that are Vimanas. These are big craft, all interdimensional. They're not under the ground. They're not in space. We're in a freaking dome. You're not going in space. You're just in one little dome on top of a huge cosmic egg. So there's no space that's holographic above you. What can come in and out of here? Interdimensional. And only if you have the right frequencies. Because if you're outside of here and you don't have the frequencies to break the shielding in here, you still can't get in here. You have to have the right codes and frequencies to go through the dome, because it's done, everything is frequency and coding, and it's constantly on the dome itself is working on a set frequency. And I do know that the ones that created this dome were thinking about turning it into an oscillating key, which would be damn near impossible to get into, but they didn't do it. They double domed it. So double doming means they have this set of frequencies and now this set of frequencies. And that's why for the first time, we're having a double rainbow with the Alexander belt in between, because they double domed it, because doing an oscillating frequency would be so difficult for a single shielding to keep us in here. They figured we'll just do a double dome. We'll put it on a different frequency. And then it's like a key with, you have to have the two right frequencies or lock sets to open and come in, because everything is done interdimensionally.
Superb. And that's a really good sum up of exactly where we are. So we were talking about ancient flying devices and everything else like that. And Sonja's just hit the nail on the head perfectly. We are cavemen now, and what we had before was far more advanced, and they won't tell you that. They'll keep that from you, they'll hide it. Okay? And this is part of the deception of where we are. So I could ask Sonja about all sorts of other things that have, you know, been about. I mean, even on Star Trek, when they could beam me up Scotty, they would have had that technology back in the day, wouldn't they, Sonja?
Oh, absolutely. No problem. Not a big deal. It's not, it's not that they would literally beam them up and they would be splattered into a million particles. That's actually a lot. So what I see, beam me up, Scotty, what it is they're taking you from one, it's interdimension again, one point, bending space and time and putting you here. You do not get put into this is garbage. You're put into a billion zillion particles and then you're reassembled. Bullshit. I claim bullshit. This is not what I'm actually seeing. But what I am seeing is interdimensional, time, space, relocation. There.
Superb.
Pick you here, bend space and time, and put you here. Doesn't matter where you are. It doesn't matter. I can put you through. It doesn't matter if you're down in it, stuck in a cave in a cage that's locked. I can still get you, because all I'm doing is taking your point here and moving you from here, bending time and space. Doesn't matter where you are, to here. As long as I have two pinpoints that I need to go to. This is also with portal technology. You need to know this point and this point for portal technology to work, because all that is bending of time and space. It's the same thing. All portals work the same.
Brilliant.
And yep, Scotty is a form of a portaling.
Brilliant. And again, it just shows you the technology, you know, that we have had, and how they show you this and take the piss out of us, quite frankly, on television and films, because they've shown you what we had at one point, but they change it so they'll put it in space rather than actually having it here on the ground, you know. So these are, they like to put these little things in our heads, and then of course any UFO, you know, and I still call them UFOs. I don't care whatever.
Yeah, I'll be clear. UFO, unidentified flying object, even though I know what they are. I want to say one thing about space. You know how everything's an inversion? Space is up there. Our true space is the oceans.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
That's where your true space is.
Yeah.
It's undiscovered oceans. We know nothing hardly of the oceans as the common man. You want to know where space is? You'd be surprised what's in our oceans.
Yeah. Five percent of our oceans have been um looked at, as in we only have um explored, that's the word, I
Mhm.
couldn't think of, brain dead again. Explored 5% of our oceans, and our ocean covers 74% of the realm.
Mhm.
Come on, people, think about it.
Uh-huh.
Crazy, isn't it?
Yeah.
Crazy.
That's why I always say they have you inverted. They're having you looking up at a holographic sky screaming space, space, space. When you better look down, space, space, space.
Always, always, and again, we have to remember this. um our truth that we've been taught and MK Ultra by the control mechanism, by the Rockefeller organizations and such like. Everything that you've ever been taught has been an inversion, and it's unlearning these things, accepting that you've been lied to, and then looking for what truly is the truth as far as we can work it out as we do the
Yeah.
remembrance. And we have the ability to use people with such gifts like Sonja, who can remote view, as well as tarot card readers and pendulums and all bits and pieces, as well as looking at some of the scientific stuff, because some scientific stuff is amazing and some of it is pointless.
Garbage.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
can tell you what, they needed to break us down. And so they knew we had a trinity. They know that we have our brain, our heart brain, and our gut brain. And at that point, they created the three systems to break down. And I don't know if I've ever mentioned this to you. The brain has always been the city state of London. The heart brain has always been the Vatican. And then the gut brain, which is the war, fight or flight, has always been the District of Columbia, Washington, D.C. There's a reason why there's three of these, because there's three of us, because we're divided into a trinity and we have three brains, and they needed to control all three brains. There's your cargo cults.
Beautifully put. Yeah, yeah. Because while you're separating things, and they're so far apart from each other as well,
Oh, yeah.
it's the divide and conquer and divide and rule,
Mm-hmm.
in a way that they also use spells and magic, and they do.
Mm-hmm.
Language is
Mm-hmm.
spells. When you're watching when you're watching the TV, tell lies in vision. Okay, you're watching a program. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
and the people who star in this are the cast.
Mm-hmm.
So they have
Awesome.
cast the spell sayers to create the words of the spell of the program to tell the lies in vision. There we go.
There it is. Tell a lie vision. Tell a lie to your vision.
Yeah. So I think we should go for the middle part now. And
Okay.
what again, this is going to be quite, you know, hard
Harsh.
hitting ish. It's going to be,
It's going to
it,
be harsh. And remember that this is not going to be your reality, but we all have to be made aware of what's going on around us, because awareness is combative, to be combative to what is coming. If I was going to do something to you, I would never want to tell you what I'm going to do to you, but got a big mouth, so I'm going to tell the whole world what's coming up next. So be on your toes, know what's coming up next, because we're going to discuss it now. And I think we'll just dive deep into it now. We all know this digital ID has been wanting to be implemented in the entire reality. It was initially implemented in China. China had a reverse reaction to it. Most people don't know this, but they had put digital ID in for the Chinese people a long time ago with the credit system, behavioral credit system. And people got so disgusted because bank accounts were being closed. They were being locked out of buying food. They were being locked out of selling goods. They were being locked out of life. So they ended up, a big chunk of them, they're still, a part of them still running it because there's a split in China too, where the common people got so angry they took things in their own matters and made up in their own system to start having goods flowing between them without the government, and digital ID being a part of it. Now we all need to learn from the Chinese. So right now in America, well, let's start with the UK because you're before us. Right now in the UK, they want to implement their digital ID, and they're already putting a carbon footprint on food, because the next big thing, because they couldn't get rid of all of us with the you know what, because we all didn't lay down for our grave and hurry up and get in that grave. There was always plans. They've got plan A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, whatever they think they can get away with. So the next thing is starvation. I can sell you this digital ID. You're going, I'm going to force it down your throat. Remember, the Chinese got around it. And the next thing you know, I'm going to lock up all of your food, and you might not even be able to get into a store without your digital ID. And I am going to give you a caloric count that is well below what you need because of the carbon footprint. Garbage, made up BS, completely made up BS. And I'm going to starve you to death. Y'all are going to die because not that there's a lack of food, but that I won't allow you to buy it. Whether I shut your bank accounts, you've been a bad boy, you've said what you didn't need to say, you didn't comply to this, you didn't get more of these, you didn't do this, you didn't do that. So now you're going to starve, because this is the world of not having your own little farmette. And you don't need a big one because you can do stacking kind of growth and stuff instead of just flat land. You could do, stacking, because we were all driven into a reality where we are not self-sufficient in our food. We have something called natural law, which every being deserves to have: water, food, shelter, and play. Play has to be a big part of it. So that's even another topic to talk about, how they all work and no play makes Jack a dull boy. I mean, they made a movie on it called The Shining, and you see how that didn't end well. And he was typing all work and no play makes Jack a dull boy. All work and no play makes Jack a dull boy. And he became a psychopath and tried to kill his own family. Well, going back, let's go to America now. They want to push this digital ID. Our government, my government, not my government, but the American government, has been shut down deliberately for over a month. And they have cut off all food services on EBT, which is electronic distribution of money on a card, which is food stamps. Across the board for everyone, whether you're homeless, whether you are working 10 jobs and you still can't make it, it does not matter. We have over 60 million Americans on a EBT. The elderly are absolutely on it. They don't have enough money in their income because they're retired, for all of this artificial inflation that's been done in America. These ridiculous tariffs that are punishing the Americans for buying everything that's not in America. And years ago, decades ago, they do 100-year implement plans. So when in the Clinton administration, they allowed outsourcing of all products in America for the big corporations. They did this because they knew this point would come, because they do 100 increment plans. If you outsource everything you make in your country, you are dependent on other countries. Then we're going to introduce a tariff where all the countries who want to sell to you are going to have to pay. And then in order for you to get your goods that you've already paid for, you're going to have to pay the courier to get your goods, which could be the price of the goods, 50% less to 150% more than the goods themselves, or you're just out all your money. But because we have outsourced everything, we have no choice but to get our goods outside of our country. I'm talking everything to do with anything, all the way from car parts to anything in your house, a computer, a laptop, a bicycle, you name it, it's all been outsourced, all of it, including our food. Not all of our food is grown in America. That's also outsourced. So if you wanted to collapse an entire country, and you didn't want to collapse the evil cabal government because they have all the money, you introduce these tariffs. These tariffs have already gotten over 90 billion By the end of the year and going into next year, it'll have crested at trillion hard, cold cash dollars. And our government shut down because we don't have any money. Where's all the money? Where's all the tariff money? Where is it? It's being used against you for chemtrailing, for buying off other countries so their infrastructure can stay into place, which is the negative, evil cabal. And where would you like to jump in? Because I haven't even talked about the tractor trailer drivers yet.
So I follow the money. I always follow the money. And we have a bank called the Bank of International Settlement, BIS. And the BIS is the central bank of the central banks of the world. So I think it was Nathaniel Rothschild or someone said, I care not who governs the country. Give me a bank so I can control their finances and I can control anybody, king, queen, whoever. Okay. I know I've got the quote wrong, but fundamentally, the bankers have always known that once they take control of the finances, we're knackered. Okay. Now, I talk a lot about the UK history with Cromwell and the Zionists, and so we're talking about Zionist control here. And in 1694, the Bank of England was started. And it was started by the same people who overthrew James I, Charles I, and supported Cromwell and created all the devastation we see today. So when Sonja says they deal in 100-year implements, you're actually now feeling the effect of the plans of the early 1600s. Get your head around that one. Okay. Now, the Bank of England was started because that was the first bank to create debt or loans or gilts or debt bonds, which are now sold everywhere. And they used these debt bonds to cover a war against France, who used debt bonds to cover the war against us. Even though we had the same royalty who were directly related to each other, and the same bankers who controlled the French banks and the English banks were the same families and the same people. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
Sonja, I'm seeing some skullduggery and shenanigans going on here, aren't you?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
So, we have this same group of people playing the people to create debt to enslave us fundamentally, and this is exactly what they've done. Now, this plan has been a long time coming, and they probably couldn't envisage the technology that we had today, but they're certainly using it to their advantage. And by their control of the television, televising vision, and the newscasting, newscasting, broadcasting, spell casting, same shit, same stuff. They have, via the control of every single aspect of your life. So education, social, the computer you're using, everything that you use and have access to and all the books you've read are all controlled by this same group of people and have been for your entire life. Get that round. Now, they have decided that they want to create the Hunger Games.
Mm-hmm.
And fundamentally, the Hunger Games is what they want. So they want us in zones where we will work, own nothing, and be happy. Well, I've got a shock for you. You're already there. You're already in the Hunger Games, okay? Because you don't actually own anything. You think you own your house that you've paid your mortgage on for 30 years. Try to stop paying their taxes, their, the ground rent or whatever it is that the government has decided that you owe them. If you don't pay it, they'll send a very nice man around who will remove you from your house from the very nice man who sat in the court with the curly wig to take your property, sell it back to the bankers who will then refinance it back to somebody else. And you've worked 30 years, paid treble or quadruple the price of that place via the interest, And fundamentally, you've got nothing because you never owned anything in the first place, because you're not entitled to, under law, their law, to own anything. Okay.
Mhm. Mhm.
And what we're now seeing is the pinch point of their plan. Now, remember, we're talking about the 3D realm here. We're not going to see this, but we have to be aware of this so we can see what they're up to and say, not in my reality. I'm going to create my own reality tunnel of what I want, and I'm not going to be dragged down into this despair and chaos. Now, I did a pendulum reading probably last month. Um, and the pendulum stated very clearly that the USA was going to go into digital ID, and I got, a couple of people said, no, it's not. We don't get this. This would never be allowed to happen. Well, it already is. And we live in a mono society of control, which is often referred to as lockstep, and lockstep is fundamentally the Rockefeller 2000 agenda of the latest part of their plan that they always put in paper. And because they've written it down and no one's really fought against it, particularly apart from a few crazy people like us, then the compliance of the masses by not saying no means that they agree to it. And they're now going to start to bring in the fake climate stuff. I mean, like I did a show the other day over COP30, and they cut down thousands of acres of prime rainforest to get a road in for the 65 plus or 65 private jets that landed, and all the thousands and tens of thousands of government officials from around the world who went there for a jolly and to abuse people. It's a joke.
Mhm.
But this digital ID system is actually a banker's wet dream, because as once they put us into the digital system, and remember, real money like gold and silver, which is the real money, then just becomes nothing. It's a trinket, because they've digitally created the concept of money, which we have today with our fiat currency. And they will then be able to control every aspect of your life and what you purchase by creating nonsensical bullshit rules like carbon footprint. That's very interesting. If you, I've actually had this conversation when I used to drive a taxi. This guy threatened to punch me. Actually, he threatened to
Oh,
punch because he was talking about, the green, oh my God, climate change. And I was saying, well, actually, there's patents from 1891 to make it rain. And on my Telegram channel, I've got a list of all the patents, or a lot of them. Most of the current ones are owned by Bill Gates, that man
mhm.
again.
Mhm.
And we see the devastation of the hurricanes that have just happened.
They stall them out. They stall them out. They have technology now where they can lay down certain substances in the sky that are they're a form of hydrogel. And what they do is they're hard to move. Even the wind barely moves them. It takes almost 48 hours for them to break down. And they spray this barrier around. So they seed the ionosphere, which is negative and positive ions. And what they do is they use silver. Silver is seeding. One of the reasons they are artificially keeping the silver down is because they're using it as a weapon,
Yeah,
even though it's the cure to everything. So they spray this hydrogel crap down, and they can actually make like a tunnel and make it go and do anything. It'll run this ionosphere. The ions that are being seeded to react to each other will actually follow, because it's like building a corral, and then they can shut off the corral at one end and stall a system. This is why you have systems that have stalled. Think about the Caribbean, where they just stalled that system out over the Caribbean. Jamaica,
yeah,
destroy Jamaica because it's going to be geared for a 10-minute, 15-minute city, whatever.
yeah,
I'm laughing, but when you see it, it's like you're not really intelligent. It's right there in your face. It's the people who refuse to wake up that this stuff is still happening. Because if everybody decided that, you know what, I want to know. I don't want to live in my fake bliss of being ignorant, but I really want to know. This stuff would end tomorrow, because we are more than they are. They're a small 1% of our population. And if every person woke up, including the people that work in the military doing these things, the aircraft, Think about the passenger airlines. They're spraying that shit, military spraying that shit. And if humanity woke up and decided to become a one humanity again to protect nature, which is the only thing that matters, guess what? Yeah, it's just like the forest fires. When I was talking about the how they're spraying all this stuff, it's known as a long time ago Greek fire, and today we know it as lithium. And they've been spraying this lithium everywhere to create all these fires all over the snow globe. And you can't, water does not do it. It actually takes a frequency. So if you had a frequency tool, which they do have, you could beam this frequency at it and the fire would cut off immediately. But basically, knowledge, if every person decided, because everyone's staying in stupidity and doing what's easy, this is why this is allowed to continue. And this has something to say about our species, that you would rather be annihilated than to wake up.
Yeah.
How lazy can you be? What kind of sloth are you?
Yeah.
This is not directed toward anyone watching this.
No, no, it's not. No. So the digital IDs, and also they sprayed an awful lot of aluminium nanoparticles as well, because that helps the vibrational frequency. They then use these big ships which pump out EMPs, electromagnetic pulses, which then control that gel,
Yep.
create the frequency to then create whatever they want. It's very interesting that the PM or whoever he was of the Caribbean island that just got destroyed was
Yeah.
talking about bringing in digital ID and everything else like that. So he's not interested in the poor people. He's just puppeting what he's been told to say, and his bank account's nice and full.
Uh-huh.
But this is the kicker, people. All these people that have taken all the money to do all this destruction, they don't realize they're about to get screwed over. Because
Yeah.
when they crash the military system, and they're gonna, okay, they can't stop it. All the money that they've got will become worthless because we will go on to a different financial system, which will initially be gold and silver backed. I think there'll be a duality of systems. One will be real money and one will be their fake digital money.
Mm-hmm.
All these dumb elites will go onto the digital stuff, and what they don't realize is they're actually putting themselves not just to the 1%, but the 0.0001% who will control everything. And all these puppet masters, all these politicians, all these bankers, all these, not the top bankers, but most of these bankers are all going to be enslaved when they
Mm-hmm.
think that they're in the club, and they ain't in the club. They're
Yeah.
fodder for the club, you know? So
We have to take, yeah, we'll have to take that one step further. One of the reasons why there is a gold shortage, we are in a gold shortage, is because AI requires the gold in the technology. And the technology is microscopic. Okay. So if you were going to create, you'll love this one, Cybermen from Doctor Who, Cybermen, if you look throughout all of TV and movies, they've been telling you this for a long time. Okay. One of the main components is gold. So when your gods were mining for gold, what were those gods? Why did they need gold? Why was gold more important than anything? Because to me, the only important thing is food and shelter.
it's very interesting. Sonia brings up a very interesting point here that gods who are mining for gold and silver, particularly now, but mining for gods mining for gold, those gods are the same dumb elites we've got today. Remember, they
Yeah.
write the history. So they've created themselves as gods in the past, and they've
Mhm.
created this fallacy. Brilliant. I
Mhm.
mean, you couldn't make it up if you tried, but they do. So
Well,
when we look at the going back to the story about this guy who wanted to punch me in the taxi, yeah, over CO2. Okay, I asked him because he's talking about climate. I asked him how much percentage in the atmosphere is CO2, then, mate. He didn't know. And we have seen politicians and mouthpieces across, I mean, so many in America. They've sat there in these things and these people saying, "Oh, we're all going to die," and like some of the clever politicians say, "Well, okay, then you talk about CO2 being dangerous. Can you please tell me what the percentage is?"
hmm.
Well, actually, we don't know. At the point in which they're sat there and they don't know any of this basic stuff. And the American people, the British people, the Canadian, French, whoever you are, you know, the worldwide, accept that these mouthpieces haven't got a clue. They're just
Mm-hmm.
paid actors,
Mm-hmm.
and they're willing to follow that bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
It's mind blowing because it's actually 0.04%. And if carbon dioxide drops to 0.03%, plants and animals start to die. And once you get lower than that, we get mass extinction.
Mm-hmm.
And it's actually a fact that the rainforest in the Amazon, because the trees have carbon captured, and they do, the trees are so clever. They realize that the CO2 is not enough for them. They actually are now producing their own CO2. So they're releasing the carbon that they've captured to enable them to continue breathing.
Nature is quite amazing, and it's all why I always say nature is directly us and how this place was created on the crystalline spiral, and it does have mechanisms. Trees talk to each other. There's been all kinds of documentations when you're going to get ready to chop a tree up because you think you want it aesthetically, they start screaming, and they can identify the individual, just like crows. Crows are extremely intelligent. Well, so are trees. So is nature. So when you go in there and they can identify, are you here to help or to harm? And there is communication between them and us, but we've been severed from it because our Trinity's been so severed. But when you realize that everything is alive, including your trees, and you're just going out there and hacking it down for some wood, you're killing a living energy being.
Yeah.
And it knows you and it identifies you and it spreads this knowledge of you. Do you know trees are now producing pollens that are actually a bit harmful for humans now, which give you severe allergies for self protection? They do the slow route of self protection. Everything needs self protection. And right now, human beings are number one enemy because the bad guys are getting us to cull our nature. And it doesn't matter if you're doing it for a paycheck, if you're doing it for whatever, find another way. Find another way. There's a reason why our Antiquitech cities were made out of different materials, and it was never wood because at one time we knew these things and we were semibiotic with nature.
Yeah.
When I'll go back to the very beginning, how the schematic ran, we didn't even step on grass. We had elevated platforms everywhere that were anti-gravity, you could call it that. And we had those flat disc things. Everyone used those flat disc things. You could even carry the little square with you, put it down, and it opens up. All of it is self-contained. Oh, I probably should have said that. I should have went into detail on that. Basically, you would have a little tiny square metal looking disc, and you would just let it go. It would find the ground, and it would be so high up off the ground. And what you would do is, as soon as you dropped it, it would automatically open up. You know those tents that used to fold up into these tiny little things, and then you just drop them and they poof up? Same kind of a dealio. So what you do is you would step onto it. This was smart technology. You could talk to it. There was no interface. It was flat. It was smooth. It went from a square to a round disc circle. It could be bigger or it could be smaller. You decide how big you want it. I need more elbow room, and it would get bigger. This stuff made itself so thin that you could spread it over probably a 6, 7, 8 foot circumference circle. So from end to end, 6 foot, 7 foot, 8 foot, or you could make it smaller depending on the person, or maybe whatever. Usually it was a single design, but you could get bigger squares that could do groups. So basically inside of it, it had a hydrogel that replicated at such a speed. And then so it would replicate itself to make the bubble around. So you are in your own, it's like a spaceship, gravity, whatever. So you could be doing 90-degree things that you would not be disturbed inside. You could go up, you could go down, you could do anything, it doesn't matter. And it's so highly technical, you could go around trees, forests, it doesn't matter. It would just be so much above. You could even program how high you wanted to go. So basically, the hydrogel would multiply itself to make the bubble. The hydrogel was also where air could come in and out so you wouldn't suffocate. You would never be in a bubble like plastic where you would suffocate, you use all the oxygen. No, this stuff would actually allow oxygen in and out. And it could also change the environment inside of there. Say you went underwater and you didn't have oxygen, it would change the amount of oxygen it would get from the outside into the inside. Yes, these things were submergible also. And as long as you were standing on the platform, the circle would not open unless you were in a safe condition. It would deem if you were in a safe condition, or you made instructions that, okay, I want it out, but if you're not in a safe condition, it's not going to open. It doesn't allow suicide. So I know this is a lot of information.
That's great. I love it.
So basically, you get onto this technology, it would take you everywhere. And from what we have, what we have, this stuff is still, it's out there still. This knowledge is still out there. It's being used every single day. We don't have it. The deep state doesn't have it. The deep state wishes they had it, but it's still out there outside of this snow globe. Now I forgot where I was going with this because I got so deep into that rabbit hole.
No, that was brilliant. That was brilliant. I mean, the flying carpet concept is amazing. So with the digital ID, they're going to have a war on food. They're going to have a war on water. Okay, we know this is coming. Bo there with the cows recently, where they've been, fundamentally killing cattle. And we had the ostrich thing in Canada, ostriches, where how they were taken out was disgusting. And a couple of nights ago, I actually woke up. I'd seen the story, and I actually woke up at 3 o'clock in the morning. It's the first time it's happened to me, Sonia, where I went there, and
Yeah.
I actually went there, and I saw what they did and how they did it, and it made me cry because that's 3 o'clock in the morning, and I didn't go back to sleep again, and great. I'm sort of like some of these like Claire's are coming online, but I didn't really want that particular Claire of that 3 o'clock in the morning. And it really upset me. And I was really peed off, quite frankly. Um, the sickness that we're seeing, okay, is the 3D realm sickness. We ain't going to see it. We're going to see the split. There's a huge split coming now. The chasm's there.
Yeah,
People
we're
are going
already
to
in
have
it.
to, yeah, the people are going to have to make a decision. They can go with the Fibonacci and the 3D crap, or they can go to the Kryst code and the 5D realm and what's going on. And there's going to be more information coming up in the very near future, I think, about what we could see and where we're going to be going, because although Sonia Remote's views and everything else like that, we're not we're sometimes blocked from actually seeing certain bits because we don't need to know that yet, and we shouldn't know that yet. And some of this stuff I feel is about to come online, and we're going to be showing more of the 5D nuts and bolts about how we're going to be moving forward and what we're going to be doing. Okay, so don't fear the digital ID. You know, um, if you've got your own business and you're a limited company in the UK, apparently on the 18th, you've got to have signed into a new digital enslavement system. Do your books now. Do your books now. Send it off. You've got 11 months, 12 months. In 11, 12 months, I don't think the governments are going to be here. I'll be honest with you. They're not going to be here.
A huge, huge uprising coming, Gary.
There is.
Right now they are really smashing most countries. There are several countries that have fought back. Nepal, Tanzania, Myanmar, formerly known as Burma. And we have to do like with like. And I hate to say it, you're not going to remember when I keep always saying you can't sit on a lotus paddle singing Kumbaya, my Lord, and thinking something's going to happen. When you have extremes coming down the pike and you know it, and they want to now extinct you with starvation, you're going to have to stand up.
Yeah.
You're going to have to stand up. Do you want to start, unless you're living on a farm where you make your own farm? But believe me, if we don't, they'll keep pushing until we push back. People need to learn not to be a coward. You know, in The Wizard of Oz, you had the Tin Man, Cyberman, you had the straw man, we're the straw man, and then you had the cowardly lion. We're going to play all these parts. We're playing all these parts.
And that's
The
the
cowardly
Trinity as
lion.
well. Sorry, Sonja. The straw man, Tin Man, and the lion is the Trinity that they've
Yes, it is.
split apart. And when
Mhm.
they come together as one, head, heart, gut,
Yep.
you're whole again, and they
There
can't
you
do
are.
jack shit to you. Sorry,
There
Sonja.
it is. No, that's perfectly fine. That's absolutely right. That's absolutely correct. And I've had a few people say, well, what can I do? I'm one person. And I'm always like, it only ever takes one. You're one, you're one, you're one. Now we got a million one persons. That whole thing with Keanu Reeves and that Matrix movie, you're the one, it never was about a single Superman. It was that you are Superman.
Yeah, yeah. All of you watching are supermen and superwomen. You really are. And you have no idea still how powerful you truly are and the
Mm-hmm.
power that you're going to project out into this realm in the coming future. I've got goosebumps on this one. I get glimpses of, and I get shown certain things. And if I express some of what I've seen, you'd call me crazy. Okay. Please trust me on this one. The future is amazing. The future's bright. We've got to go through this period to pick up the last sentient stragglers before we go to where we're going. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
We won't have digital ID where you're forced to take a 10 dart finish to be able to buy food and all that kind of. We're not going there.
Mm-mm.
When we know about this stuff, we can consciously say, we're not doing that. We're not having it. We
Mm-hmm.
create a reality tunnel and we create our own reality. Now, this is something that Sonia and I have spoken about before, toroidal fields of consciousness and everything else, okay? And it was part of our time video we did last time. So let me put this in context. Everything that could possibly happen in the future has already happened. Everything that could possibly ever happen in the past has already happened. We're in a simulation and we control the simulation. We are the power of the sim. You are, everyone watching, you're the power of that simulation. You control what you see and do. You don't believe it, so you can't. But when you believe it and know it, you can be Neo. Okay? Now, because
Mm-hmm.
every single possibility has already happened, we, when we go, right, I'm now going to create my own reality tunnel, we're not actually creating our own reality tunnels. What we're doing is we are harmonizing frequency wise into that thing that's already happened,
Mm-hmm.
and we're connecting to the thing that's already happened because we want that thing to happen, and so we then do it. So
Mm-hmm.
the Aztecs fundamentally went to the 5D. They dreamed themselves out of this realm and they went somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so it's already happened.
Mm-hmm.
We just have to know that that's where we're going. We focus on that. We disregard all the information, all the fear porn that we've been talking about. That 3D concept, we know it, we understand it, we reject it, we go to where we want to go, we connect to that future that's already happened, and we step forward into that future, just like stepping through a portal, a stargate, a new realm. And
Mm-hmm.
that's exactly where we're
Yeah,
going and what we're doing.
yeah,
Sonia, have you got anything
yeah,
to add to that?
absolutely. Because every choice of everything that's ever been done by an individual and then impact that through everyone, our timelines, you pick the next timelines. And I've had a lot of timeline merges happen in my reality where it lands me where I need to be, where I'm safe. And this is what everyone needs to do. You also need to know you have options. Do you want option A, hell, or do you want option B, paradise? This is why we talk about these things, because if you're even unaware that there's options, you might just do whatever's given you.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, and this is the point of what we're saying. We're not dwelling on fear. We're not going. And again, another little hobby horse of mine. Okay, It is not 3D, and you're not going to lower your vibrational frequency by knowing this stuff. By knowing this stuff will empower you to make
Mhm.
the choice and the decision to enable you to choose the 5D.
Mhm.
If you don't know about something, you can't make that informed choice.
There it
Okay.
is.
We can talk about all the fear, about all the jabs, all the starvation, the food, the water, the weft thing, all the money, men, and all this kind of stuff, right? We're expressing what they want. And
Mhm.
when people go along with that, they're creating the reality tunnel of
Mhm.
what the dumb elites wanted. The
Mhm.
deletes want you to do that. Well, no, I'm not having that. They're the deletes. They're dumb elites. That's their program. And if they're clever enough to persuade people to create their
Mhm.
personal reality tunnel into what they've been told to do,
Mhm.
well, more for them. Okay, more for them. We are aware of that, and we are aware that we have the ability to choose anything we want and go wherever we want and create whatever we want. And so we know that's an option, but we dismiss it because we're now going to go to the option that we want, which is the kryst code paradise, and we're going to go towards that. And there's nothing they can do to stop us. There's nothing they can do to stop us. They cannot stop me from going where I want to go. Even if they physically put me in prison, it makes no difference. My mind is free. I create my reality tunnel, and they will not be able to enslave me further. I've made that decision. The future's there. That's been written in the code of the matrix of the holographic universe. Everything's available to us. Take what's available to us. Even though you can't see it, know it, create it in your mind. Manifestation, be it, do it.
Absolutely. And that is a great note to end on.
It certainly is. Thank you very much, Sonia. I think we've got more subjects on the future, potentially on how we travel in the future, and some real
Oh,
nice
yeah.
stuff to go and talk about, which we haven't been able to. So, as we wind up, please check out Sonia's Patreon and her private booking systems via Patreon. We talked about Planet Wild and Mossy Earth. Please check them out and have a look. If it resonates, please do. If it doesn't, don't. Obviously, we are giving you options, or Sonia's giving you options to create your own reality tunnel and what you would like to invest in or not, or give your energy, even if you haven't got the money, and you give them love
And
and you
likes, and likes, give them a like so
yeah,
this stuff spreads. Because
share it.
as bad as the bad guys are, those are the good guys.
Yeah, yeah. Remember, share like their content across the internet world, across cyber world, and it gets the message out. So, Sonia, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you very, very much. Any last words from you at all?
Yes, for my channel, I'll be listing Gary's channel on the description. So find him there. I'm sure almost everyone's found you already, but I always have new people coming in too.
Yeah,
And I absolutely enjoy talking to Gary. We talk about the most fascinating things. We are free flowing thinkers, so there's nothing scripted here. We might talk about little things in the beginning, but everything we talk about is always going down new avenues, probably that we didn't even talk about.
I agree. I agree. Yeah, it's amazing. I really enjoy my chats with you, Sonia, because we are free flowing and because we think in a similar way, but have different, we come to it from different directions. And the fact we come from completely opposite directions and come to the same conclusion, for me, is always a validation on what the messages we're putting out. It's love, light, and blessings, everybody. We're in a
Mhm.
good place. We've got this. Have no fear. Take back your power and walk the path you want to walk.
Absolutely, and great to end. All right, Gary. And everybody have a great, wonderful day. Bye.
Bye, everyone. Blessings.